Hello everyone, welcome to Philos Academy. Today I'm going to take you through binomial distribution. So without wasting much time, let's start. First, let's look at the meaning of binomial experiment and binomial distribution. Now we say a binomial experiment is a probability experiment that satisfies the following four requirements. So the first requirement is that there must be a fixed number of trials. So when you toss a coin 5 times, that 5 is a number of trials, so we should have a fixed number of trials. And secondly, 2 outcomes, that is success and failure, are possible on each trial. So on each trial, 2 outcomes are possible, either success or a failure. And also, the outcome of each trial must be independent of one another. This means that the outcome of the second trial shouldn't depend on the first one, or the first one shouldn't depend on the second one. They should be independent of one another. And also, the probability of a success, denoted by P, must remain the same for each trial. Okay. Now, if the probability of success in the first trial is 20%, that is 0.2, it should be the same in the second trial. It should be the same in the third one. It should be the same in the fourth one going. Okay. The outcomes of a binomial experiment and the corresponding probabilities of these outcomes are called a binomial distribution. So let's look at the formula we're going to use in this topic. Now, in binomial distribution, the probability of an event X occurring should be equal to n combination X times P exponent X, then times 1 minus P exponent n minus X. This formula can also be written as n combination X, P exponent X, then 1 minus P exponent n minus X. One thing I want you to know is that you can replace Q with 1 minus P. Okay, so you can write the formula as n combination X, P exponent X, then Q exponent n minus X. What matters is you should know that Q is equal to 1 minus P. Since you know that n combination X is equal to n factorial divided by n minus X factorial times X factorial, then the formula can also be written as n factorial divided by n minus X factorial P exponent X, then 1 minus P or Q exponent n minus X. You can also write the formula like this. Okay. Now, n stands for the number of trials. Okay. And then P stands for the probability of success in a single trial. Okay. And then 1 minus P, which is the same as Q, represents the probability of failure in a single trial. Okay. And then X is the number of successes. Okay. So this is the formula we use in binomial distribution. So I'm going to write mine this way: n combination X, P exponent X, then Q exponent n minus X. Please remember, Q is the same as 1 minus P. And then how I've written n combination X here is still the same as this. Okay. So but I'll be writing mine in this form. So you can choose to write them in any form. But I'll be writing mine like this. Okay. Now before I proceed, in binomial distribution, to find the mean is referred to as expected value of what? Of X. The mean is equal to n times P, number of trials, times the probability of success in a single trial. Okay, so that will give you the mean. And also, to find the variance, that is variance of X, the formula is n times P times Q, or times 1 minus P. So that's how we find the variance. And then to find the standard deviation, that is SD of X, it should be the square root of the answer you got for the variance. So square root of n times p times q. That would be the standard deviation. So let's take some questions and see how to do this properly. Now question 1 says, a coin is tossed 5 times. Find the probability of getting exactly 2 tails. Now to solve this question, first, what is the binomial formula? The formula says that probability of x equals x should be equal to n combination x, isn't it? P exponent x times q exponent n minus x. Now, from the question says a coin is tossed 5 times. It means that the question has given you n to be what? To be 5. Find the probability of getting exactly 2 tails. Every question will give you the n and the p and ask you to find the x. Okay. Now, with the help of the p, you can know the q yourself. But here lies the case that when you look at this question, it looks like the p is not in, but it is in. Let's analyze this. He said a coin is tossed 5 times. Now, you ask yourself, when I toss a coin once, okay, when I toss a coin once, there are 2 possible outcomes, isn't it? So since there are 2 possible outcomes, the probability of getting a tail in a single tossing should be number of tails in a single tossing. You know, in a single tossing, there are 2 possible outcomes, tail or head. So probability of getting a tail in a single tossing should be number of tails in a single tossing divided by number of outcomes in a single tossing, which is 2. So we've gotten p to be 1 over 2. And then to get a q, the q is 1 minus p, isn't it? Which is equal to 1 minus, our p was 1 over 2. So that's going to give us 1 over 2 also. So we can now substitute in the formula. But the question says, find the probability of getting exactly 2 tails. So to find the probability of getting exactly 2, that x is exactly 2. When we say exactly, it means that it is equal to 2. Okay. Will give us, what is our n according to the question? It is 5. So 5 combination, x is 2. So combination 2. Then our p is 1 over 2, which is the same as 0.5. Okay. So 1 over 2, you can write it 0.5. 1 over 2 exponent 2 times our q is also 1 over 2. Now, n is 5 according to the question, isn't it? And then our x is 2. So we're going to have, now, when you put 5 combination 2 on your calculator, to get it, first enter 5, okay? Then you click on shift and then the division sign, you get a combination. Now when you get a combination, it comes as a symbol C. Then you click on 2. So 5 combination 2 give you 10 times 1 over 2 exponent 2 will give you 1 over 4. That is 1 square divided by 2 square. Okay, you can use your calculator. And then 5 minus 2 is 3, isn't it? 1 over 2 exponent 3 should give you 1 over 8. Now when you simplify this, you get what? 5 divided by what? 16. So in decimals, it is 0.3125. Leave your answer in 4 decimal places, okay? So in decimal, it is 0.3125. So this is the answer to the question. Now if the question had asked you that you should find the mean, okay? The mean, which is expected value of x, should be equal to what? N times p. And what is our n? Our n is 5. And our p is what? 1 over 2. So 5 times 1 over 2 should give us what? 2.5. So the mean is what? Is 2.5. For the variance, that's variance of x, it should be n times p times q, isn't it? So our n is what? 5, isn't it? and then P is 1 over 2 and Q is 1 over 2. So 5 times 1 over 2 times 1 over 2 should give us what? 1.25. So this is the variance. So the variance is what? 1.25. If you want to find a standard deviation, then the standard deviation should be what? Square root of what you got for the variance. So square root of 1.25. So square root of 1.25 will give you what? 1.118. So this is the mean 2.5 and the variance is 1.25 and the standard deviation is 1.118. The question only asks for the probability of getting exactly 2 tails. So this is the answer, 0.3125. So let's proceed to the next question. Question 2 says, it is known that 37% of inhabitants of a community favor a political party, PA. So this is the name of that political party. Now, a random sample of 30 inhabitants was selected from the community, and each person was asked if he or she will vote for PA party in an impending election. What is the probability that A, no one will vote for PA party? So let's see how to solve this. Now, for this question, our P is 37%, so you have to convert it towards decimals or fraction. Okay, so 37 divided by 100 will give us 0.37. Okay, then our Q is going to be 1 minus P, which is 0.37. So 1 minus 0.37 give us 0.63. Okay, so that's our Q. And then from the question, they said a random sample of 30. So this 30 is the n, is the sample size. Okay, so 30. Now, to solve question A says, what is the probability that no one will vote for party? It means that we should find a probability that X will be exactly 0. No one will vote for party A. It means X will be what? Exactly 0. So to solve this, what is our n? Our n is what? 30. So we say 30 combination X, which is 0. Then our P is what? Our P is 0.37. So we say 0.37 exponent X, which is 0, times our Q is 0.63. So 0.63 exponent 30 minus 0, that is n minus x. Okay, so let's simplify this. You can put this on your calculator directly. Okay, now 30 combination 0 will give you 1 times any number exponent 0 will also give you 1. Okay, times 0.63 exponent 30 minus 0 is 30. So if you simplify this with your calculator, you get 0.000000955. So that will be the answer. Okay, now let's look at question B. Question B says we should find a probability that exactly 2 persons will vote for PA party. So we want to find a probability that X is exactly 2. So that will be what? N combination 2, that's n combination X, then P exponent 2 times Q, which is 0.63 exponent 30 minus 2. Now you can put this directly on your calculator. To do that, you input 30, then you click on shift and the division key, and that will give you the combination symbol. Then you enter 2, then you bring your multiplication sign times, open a bracket and then enter 0.37 in the bracket, close it and square, then bring times, enter 0.63 in the bracket and then exponent 30 minus 2. So just click equal to sign, you get the answer straightforward. So 0.00014. So that's the answer to the question B. Okay, now question C says you should find a probability that at most 2 persons will vote for PA party. So question C says at most 2 persons. Now when we say at most means that maximum should be that value. So when we say at most 2, it means that maximum should be 2. It shouldn't be more than 2. Okay, so at most 2 means that x is less than or equal to 2. It means that it should either be less than 2 or equal to 2, but not more than 2. That's the meaning of at most 2. Okay, so if we say x is less than or equal to 2, then it means that it's either x is exactly 0 or x is exactly 1 or x is exactly 2. That is the meaning. It's either that x is exactly 0 or x is exactly 1 or x is exactly 2. Do you get it? So if I say I go to the studio at most twice in a year, it means that it's either I don't go at all, or I go just once in a year, or I go there twice in a year, but not more than twice. That is the meaning. Okay, so to solve this, we are going to use the binomial formula to find the probability that x is exactly 0. Okay, then you use that same formula to find the probability that x is exactly 1. Use that same formula to find the probability that x is exactly 2. So to do that, you can say what? N combination what? X, which is 0. Then P, which is 0.37 exponent 0, times 1 minus P, which is 0.63 exponent 30 minus 0. Then plus what you've written here is just for probability that x is exactly 0. So you find for this as well. 30 combination 1, 0.37 exponent 1, then 0.63 exponent 30 minus 1. Now have you seen that the probability of success remains the same for this and this? Again, 30 combination 2, 0.37 exponent 2, then 0.63 exponent 30 minus 2. So when you put this on your calculator, you're going to get 0.000000955 plus, when you solve the second one also, you're going to get 0.00002 plus the last one is going to be 0.00014. So when you add the three of them together, you're going to get 0.000160955. So you can approximate it to 0.00016. So that is the answer to question C. So let's look at question D. Now question D says, what is the probability that at least 3 persons will vote for PA party? Now when we say at least 3, it means from 3 upwards. Okay, at least, meaning the minimum should be 3. That's the meaning. So when we say at least 3, it means that x is greater than 3 or equal to 3. Okay, at least 3. It means that 3 or more. So greater than or equal to 3. Okay. Now to find at least 3, it's going to be probability that x is exactly 3, because we say 3 or more, right? Or probability that x is exactly 4, or probability that x is exactly 5. You do that up to n, okay, up to probability that x is exactly 30. But it's not going to be easy to find everything up to 30. Okay, so for that matter, you need to know another method of doing this. Now to understand the second method of doing this, there's something I want you to know. Now just like how you learn words and opposites, that the opposite of good is bad, the opposite of open is closed, and the likes. Now I want to show you some words and opposites here, and that will help you to solve this question in a simple way. Okay, now, and it goes like this. Look at this sign. less than or equal to sign. Its opposite is greater than. Please don't include the equal to in the opposite because it's already included here. So the opposite of greater than sign should be less than or equal to. Okay. And also the opposite of greater than or equal to should be less than. And also the opposite of less than is greater than or equal to. It goes in that manner. Also, the equal to sign, its opposite is not equal to. Okay, so if you know this, that will help you to get a simple method to solve this question. So it goes like this. Probability that x is greater than or equal to 3 should be equal to 1 minus its opposite. So what is the opposite of greater than or equal to? It is less than, isn't it? So it should be 1 minus probability that x is less than 3. If you're able to write this, you are gone. So this will give us 1 minus, so let's break this down. X less than 3 means from 0 to 2. Okay, less than 3, not less than or equal to 3, but less than 3. Okay, so it means you open a bracket, probability that x is exactly 0 plus probability that x is exactly 1 plus probability that x is exactly 2. So that will give us 1 minus into bracket. Now from the answer to question C, we got a probability that x is exactly 0 to be 0.000000955. So there's no need solving it again, you can just take it from there. Okay, plus probability that x is exactly 1 is 0.00002 plus probability that x is exactly 2 is 0.00014. So this will give us 1 minus, when you add them together you get 0.00016. So 1 minus 0.00016 will give you what? 0.99984. So this is the answer to question D. Okay, 0.99984. Now in case the question asks you to find the mean, variance and standard deviation, to get the mean, which is expected value of x, will be equal to n times p. So our n is 30 and our p is 0.37. So 30 times 0.37 will give us 11.1. Okay, and then the variance will be n times p, which is 0.37, times q, which is 0.63. So when you multiply it, you get 6.993. And then for the standard deviation will be the square root of the variance, which is 6.993. Okay, so you get 2.644. So that's the answer to this. So let's look at another question. Question 3 says, a multiple choice test consists of 15 questions. So for this question, it means that our n is 15, each with 5 possible answers, of which only one is correct. So it means that the probability of getting one correct should be 1 over 5, because you have 5 possible answers and only one is correct. So the probability of getting one correct should be what? 1 over 5. Okay, if it contains 4 possible answers, then probability of getting one correct should be what? 1 over 4. But this has 5 possible answers, so the probability of getting one correct should be what? 1 over what? 5. Okay, so we know our n and we know our p. Now let's proceed. Suppose one of the students taking the test answers the questions by guessing. What is the probability that he answers at most 3 questions correctly? Now when we say at most means the maximum should be what? 3, isn't it? So we want to find a probability that x is less than or equal to 3. So that will give us probability that x is exactly 0, or x is exactly 1, or x is exactly 2, or x is exactly 3, because they say at most 3, meaning maximum should be 3. Okay, then let's find a probability that x is exactly 0. Now our n is 15, isn't it? So that should be 15 combination 0. And then probability of success is 1 over 5. So 1 over 5 exponent 0. And then probability of failure should be Q, which is 1 minus 1 over 5, which will give us 4 over 5. So probability of failure is 4 over 5. So 4 over 5 exponent 15 minus 0. Then plus, then we do that for probability that x is exactly 1 as well. So we're going to have 15 combination 1, 1 over 5 exponent 1 times 4 over 5 exponent 15 minus 1 plus 15 combination 2 times 1 over 5 exponent 2 times 4 over 5 exponent 15 minus 2 plus 15 combination 3, 1 over 5 exponent 3 times what? 4 over 5 exponent 15 minus 3. We are following the binomial formula, okay? So when you put this first one on your calculator, you're going to get 0.03518 plus, when you put this also on your calculator, you get 0.13194 plus, when you put this also on your calculator, you get 0.2309 plus, when you put the last one on your calculator, you get 0.25014. So when you add the 4 of them together, you're going to get 0.64816. So this is the answer to question 3. In case the question asks you to find the mean, variance and standard deviation, to get the mean, that's expected value of x, the mean should be number of trials, which is 15, times probability of success, which is 1 over 5. So that will give you 3. So the mean is 3. Okay. If you want to find the variance should be what? Number of trials times probability of success times probability of failure, which is 4 over 5. So when you simplify this to, you get 2.4. Then to get a standard deviation, the standard deviation will be square root of the variance. So square root of 2.4 will give you 1.5492. Okay. The answer to this question, at most 3 questions, okay, is 0.64816. So let's look at another question. Question 4 says, a report from the Secretary of Health and Human Services stated that 70% of single vehicle traffic fatalities that occur at night on weekends involve an intoxicated driver. Now, if a sample of 15 single vehicle traffic fatalities that occur at night on a weekend is selected, find the probability that exactly 12 involve a driver who is intoxicated. Now to solve this, the probability of success, okay, is 70%. When you take 70 divided by 100, you get 0.7 or 7 over 10. Okay. Then probability of failure, which is Q, should be 1 minus 0.7, which will give you 0.3. And then the number of trials, they say if a sample of 15, so the sample of 15 is the n. Okay, so our n is what? 15. So to solve this, probability that exactly 12 involve a driver who is intoxicated. So the subject matter is intoxicated. So that will be what? N combination x. So our n is what? 15. Combination x, which is 12. Okay, remember n combination x can also be written as 15. Then you write it this way, combination 12. Okay, or you can write it this way also in form of vector. Then p exponent x. So our p is 0.7 exponent x, which is 12, times our q is 0.3, isn't it? Exponent n minus x. Now when you take 15 combination 12, you get 455 times, now 0.7 exponent 12 should give you approximately 0.01384 times Now 15 minus 12 is 3, isn't it? 0.3 exponent 3 should give you 0.027. So when you multiply the three of them, you get 0.17004. So that is the answer to this question as well. Now, it's because I've approximated some of the values, that's why I'm getting this. If you had put this part on your calculator straightforward, maybe you would have gotten something slightly different from it. It could be 0.17002. Okay, that doesn't make your answer wrong. Okay, your answer is still correct. Okay, so in case the question asks you to find the mean, you just take the number of trials times probability of success, that is 15 times 0.7, you get 10.5. okay, if you want to find a variance, then it should be 15 times p, which is 0.7, times q, which is 0.3, and that will give you 3.15. To find the standard deviation, you take the square root of what you got for the variance. Okay, so square root of 3.15 will give you 1.775. So that is the answer. So let's take another question. Question 5 says, a die is rolled 480 times. So solution, our n is 480. So meaning number of trials is 480. Find the mean, variance, and standard deviation of the number of trees that will be rolled. Now when you look at this question, you do not have p, isn't it? But for this particular question, you can get a p yourself. To get a p, you ask yourself, when I roll a die once, what is the probability of getting a 3 in a single rolling? Okay, so the probability of getting a 3 in a single rolling should be 1/6. The reason is, there is only one 3 in a single rolling, isn't it? And there are 6 possible outcomes in a single rolling of a die. So number of 3s divided by what? Number of possible outcomes, which is 1/6. Okay, so p is 1/6. So to answer the question, the mean, which is expected value of x, should be equal to n times p, which is 480 times 1/6. 480 times 1/6 will give you 80. Okay, then to find the variance, this is how we write the variance. This symbol is called sigma. Okay, it's a Greek letter. It's called sigma. It's a small letter sigma. This is a capital letter sigma, and this is a small letter one. Okay, so sigma square is a symbol for representing variance. So variance of x should be equal to n times p times 1 minus p, or n times p times q. Okay, so that will give us 480 times 1/6 times, what is our q? Our q is 1 minus 1/6, which is 5/6. Okay, so 5/6. Now 480 times 1 times 5 will give you 2400, divided by, this is over 1. 1 times 6 times 6 will give you 36. You can use your calculator. Okay, when you simplify this, you get 200/3. Okay, if you are leaving your answer in mixed fraction, then it should be 66 whole number 2/3. If you are leaving your answer in decimal, then it should be 66.667. Now to find the standard deviation. Now the standard deviation, the symbol is sigma without a square. Okay, so SD of x should be equal to square root of what you got for the variance. Okay, square root of n times p times q. So square root of 66.667 will give you 8.165. So that's the final answer to this. So let's proceed to the next question. Question 6 says, a large retailer purchases a certain kind of product from a manufacturer. The manufacturer indicates that the defective rate of the product is 3% in a shipment. The inspector of the retailer randomly picked 20 items of the product from a shipment. What is the probability that there will A, be 3 defective items? Now, from this question, the probability of success is 3%, that's 3 over 100, and that will give us 0.03. Okay, and the number of trials is 20, and then probability of failure, which is Q, should be 1 minus success, which is 0.03. So 1 minus 0.03 will give us 0.97. Now to solve question A, it says you should find the probability that there will be 3 defective items. So we are finding probability that X is exactly 3. So that will give us n combination X. So our n is what? 20. So 20 combination 3 times our P is 0.03. So 0.03 exponent X, which is 3, times our Q is 0.97 exponent n minus X, and our n is 20 minus our X is 3, isn't it? So 20 combination 3, if you put this on your calculator, you get 1140 times 0.03 exponent 3 should give you 0.000027 times, now 20 minus 3 is 17. 0.97 exponent 17 will give you 0.5958. So when you multiply the 3 of them, you get 0.01834. So that's the answer to question A. Now question B says, what is the probability that there will not be more than 2 defective items? Meaning there won't be more than 2. So when we say there won't be more than 2, it means that the maximum should be 2, but not more than 2. Okay, so in other words, this means at most 2. Okay, not more than 2 means at most 2. Okay, so probability that X is less than or equal to 2 should be probability that X is exactly 0, or X is exactly 1, or X is exactly 2. So let's find a probability that X is exactly 0. That will be n, which is 20, combination X, which is 0, times 0.03 exponent 0 times 0.97 exponent 20 minus 0, plus, then we do that for the second one also. 20 combination 1, P is 0.03 exponent 1, which is X, times 0.97 exponent 20 minus 1, then plus 20 combination 2 times 0.03 exponent 2 times 0.97 exponent 20 minus 2. So let's simplify this. You can input this on your calculator straightforward, okay? Now, when you solve the first one, you're going to get 0.54379 plus, when you solve the second one also, you get 0.33637 plus, then the third one will give you 0.09883. Okay, so when you add the 3 of them together, you're going to get 0.97899. So that's the answer to question B. Now, in case the question asks you to find the mean, variance, and standard deviation, for the mean is going to be n times p, that is 20 times 0.03, and that will give you 0.6. Okay, for the variance, it should be n, which is 20, times p, which is 0.03, times q, which is 0.97, and that will give you 0.582. And then to find the standard deviation should be square root of the variance, and square root of 0.582 should give you 0.763. So let's proceed to the next question. Question 7 says, it is known that all items produced by a certain machine will be defective with probability of 0.1 independently of each other. What is the probability that in a sample of 3 items, at most 1 will be defective? Now from the question, our P is 0.1, our Q is going to be 1 minus P, which is 1 minus 0.1, and that will give us 0.9. Okay, and then N is 3. Now the question says we should find the probability at most 1 will be defective. So when we say at most 1, meaning the maximum should be 1. So it means that X is less than or equal to 1. Okay, and that will give us probability that X is exactly 0 or X is exactly 1. So let's find the probability that X is exactly 0 and probability that X is exactly 1. Then we add them together. So that will give us 3 combination 0 times probability of success is 0.1, isn't it? Exponent 0 times, now probability of failure is 0.9, exponent 3 minus 0, plus, then we take the second one also, 3 combination 1, our P is 0.1, isn't it? So 0.1 exponent 1, and then our Q is 0.9, isn't it? So 0.9 exponent 3 minus 1. So 3 combination 0 will give you 1, times 0.1 exponent 0 is also 1, times 0.9 exponent 3 minus 0 is 3, okay, plus, now 3 combination 1 will give you 3, times 0.1 exponent 1 will give you 0.1, okay, times 0.9 exponent 3 minus 1 is 2, okay. Now when you simplify 1 times 0.9 exponent 3, you get 0.729, okay, plus 3 times 0.1 times 0.9 exponent 2 will give us 0.243. So when you add the two of them together, 0.729 plus 0.243, you get 0.972. So the correct answer for question 7 is 0.972. Okay. Now in case the question asks you to find the mean expected value of X, it should be number of trials, which is 3, times the probability of success, which is 0.1. So 3 times 0.1 will give you 0.3. So that's the mean. And then the variance. The variance should be number of trials times probability of success times probability of failure. So 3 times 0.1 times 0.9 should give you 0.27. And then the standard deviation should be the square root of the variance. So square root of 0.27 is 0.52. So let's proceed to the next question. Question 8 is, suppose the probability that a colored freshman will graduate is 0.6. 3 colored freshmen are randomly selected. What is the probability that at most 2 of these students will graduate? So to solve this, probability that one person will graduate is 0.6, isn't it? And the probability that one person will not graduate, which is Q, should be 1 minus 0.6, which is 0.4. But the question says 3 colored freshmen are randomly selected. So our N is what? Is 3. And also, the question is saying that we should find a probability that at most 2 of these students will graduate. So when we say at most 2, it means that X is less than or equal to 2, which will give us probability that X is exactly 0 or X is exactly 1 or X is exactly 2. Okay, so let's find a probability that X is exactly 0, and that should be what? N combination X, which is 3 combination 0, then P exponent X times Q exponent N minus X, plus N combination 1 this time around times P, which is 0.6 exponent 1, times Q, which is 0.4 exponent 3 minus 1, plus N combination 2 P exponent 2 times 0.4 exponent 3 minus 2. So you can put all this on your calculator. You get 0.064. Okay, plus, so when you simplify this also, you get 0.288 plus, then when you simplify the third one, you get 0.432. So add the three results together. When you add them, you get 0.784. So the correct answer to question 8 is 0.784. In case the question asks you to find the mean, variance and standard deviation, the mean is going to be n, which is 3, times p, which is 0.6. So 3 times 0.6 will give you 1.8. Okay. To find the variance should be 3 times 0.6 times the probability of failure, which is 0.4. So 3 times 0.6 times 0.4 will give you 0.72. Okay. And then to find the standard deviation, it should be the square root of the variance. So square root of 0.72 will give you 0.849. Now this is another style of giving you a binomial question. Now look at this. The question says, the random variable x has binomial distribution b into bracket 40, 0.2. Determine each of the following. A. Probability that x is exactly 5 going. Okay. Now the nature of this question is different from the previous ones that I have solved. Okay. But what I want you to know is that whenever you have this type of question, what you should know is that the first argument here is the number of trials, which is 40. And then the second argument, which is 0.2, should be the probability of success. So now you know the n and then you know the p. So you can easily find the q as what? 1 minus 0.2, which will give you 0.8. So with this known and with p also known and q known, you can solve a, b, c, d, e, and f. Okay. So I want you to try this. So I'm going to give you the answers so that when you try and then you are correct, you know. Now for question A, I think you get 0.08541. And then for question B, you get 0.95676. And then for question C, you're going to get 0.16077. And then for question D, you're going to get 0.24881. And then question E, you get 0.02846. And then for question F, I won't tell you the answer. Try as much as possible to get the answer. But make sure you work A to E properly to check if your answer is the same as mine. So I'll end the binomial distribution here for now. In our next video, we are going to look at the Poisson distribution. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do well to subscribe so that whenever I post more important videos like this, you can always have access to it easily. Thank you.